Auld Triangle, your friendly neighborhood Irish MMA podcast. And we've got a shit ton of stuff to talk about in this week's episode. Plenty of action in the world of Irish MMA. We have Myles Price on for an interview ahead of his fight against Marcin Held at PFL this weekend. Got a bunch of other stuff to talk about. And there's no other two people in the world I'd love to talk about this stuff with than the two lads beside me, and that's Andy Stevenson and Caoilte the Barra. Andy, what's the crack? How are you keeping?
Let's go. I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing for this one. Really excited to record here. And happy birthday, Caoilte. Belated happy birthday to you.
A happy birthday to the man below me, Caoilte, who had his birthday yesterday and on this time of recording.
How old are you now, Caoilte?
Oh, go away now to Tui. I'll say my thank yous and that's it.
We're all friends here.
We're all friends.
Here, jeez, 25 now for God's sake.
Oh, Jesus, it's all downhill from there.
You're on
I know,
pup.
yeah. Near the wrong side of 20.
Yeah, Ian's 40, sure.
Oh, almost tipping it. 40 going on 60.
Did you get up to nice for it?
Next. Huh?
Did you get up to nice for it?
No. Went out for. Actually, I'll tell you what I did do. I went out for dinner and Nate Kelly was on while I was waiting for the main course, so I put the drinks menu in front of me, and I had the phone on as I watched on YouTube, trying to hold in the excitement. I was there like, stop, it's terrible. And then I watched Will Fleury's later on when I was sitting in the bar. So I was keeping myself well up to date. I was buzzing watching the fights.
Two lovely presents for you anyway.
I don't think that
Shauna McCormac too.
Yeah. I don't think that you're a fight fan or someone who covers MMA without watching a fight, is sitting at a table eating dinner at the same time. I know I've been guilty of that a few times myself.
About 10 people looking at you like you're a freak.
Yeah, I know. Look, you brought the man's name up. Look, a real good weekend that's just gone by for Irish MMA. Great wins for Nate Kelly, for Will Fleury, and for Sean McCormac as well. Dee Begley, who was also scheduled to fight, things didn't work out her way, unfortunately. We'll talk about that a little bit earlier. But we got to start off, lads, with Nate Kelly, who came in for his PFL debut to take on Ben Ellis. Decent competition, it has to be said, in Ben Ellis. I know if you were looking at the fight and you didn't know anything about Ben, it was a complete whitewash by Nate Kelly. He absolutely blitzed him, and it was as dominating of a debut that you're ever going to see, dominating as performances you're ever going to see. And Nate Kelly really, really announced themselves as a solid top prospect, and is going to be a big problem in the featherweight division for the PFL. The performance himself, he just came out. And just like I said, we were laughing before. He just came out and said, fuck this. And he just went ham on Ben Ellis. It was the flurry of punches from the very start set the tone. He was there to do business. He wasn't getting paid by the hour. And it was an absolutely phenomenal performance by Nate.
He's a savage. Like, Nathan Kelly is a savage. It was a beautiful performance. As you said, he came out like a house on fire, just... It was as if he was trying to take Ben Ellis' head off with every single shot he was throwing. And then obviously he got the sub finish in the end, which was amazing. I mean, just what a way to establish yourself and announce yourself rather in the PFL. Like, you've got a great opportunity in front of you. You've been put on the main card live on ESPN in the United States, and to go out and put on a performance like that, that's how you draw attention to yourself and really, you know, just say, look, I'm Nathan Kelly and I'm here, and I'm fucking here. Brilliant performance. And Nathan Kelly, that's 5 wins now in a year, 6 on the trot, I believe, and 4 finishes. He is announcing, like, he could potentially be the breakthrough fighter for Irish MMA this year. He's announcing himself as one of the greatest prospects coming out of Ireland at the moment, especially after that performance, and I can't wait to see him next.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Andy, to be honest, with everything that you said there. It was like, you've had the chance to speak with him before ahead of previous fights. I was lucky enough to get the chance to speak with him ahead of this fight as well. And, there's some interviews and some conversations you have with people where you just know. And I was saying it before the podcast. It was just the sense that I got after listening to him talking and hearing him breaking down the fight and his journey so far. It was just like that sense of belief that he had in himself was very infectious and contagious. Like, I was like, yeah, I really was confident that he was going to go in and get the job done. But I don't think anyone could have guessed he would have been as impressive as he was, Caoilte. I mean, coming in with the flurries, landing big shots on Ben Ellis from the feet from the get-go, setting that tone, setting that pace. And you know what? That tactic was kind of the recipe that he needed to kind of get the finish. He forced the shot in from Ben Ellis. And when, you know, you're not liking things on the feet, you're going to shoot for that takedown. And he did. And Nate Kelly was expecting it. His back take was excellent. He grabbed in his hook straight away, locked in the rear naked choke. Little bit of a hand fighting for a while, but I think at that stage, the way things were going, there was little doubt it was going to happen sooner rather than later. Locked in the rear naked choke, got the tap, and a great performance overall. Caoilte, your thoughts exactly on the fight?
Well, like going into this one, I would have expected this to be almost very even. On paper, it looked quite even, really exciting matchup. But then when they go in there, Nate Kelly just looked a level above. And there's no other way of putting it. He was miles ahead of Ben Ellis on the night. Ben Ellis is called the Welsh Khabib, so I think that shot was probably expected as well. But then you've got to remember that Nate Kelly is BJJ and black belt jiu-jitsu. So I had no doubt in my mind that he was probably going to put on a fantastic performance. And my God, he lived up to expectations from the striking to the grappling. He was just absolutely phenomenal. And as I said before, level above.
Absolutely a level above. And it was great to see Nate getting in there. And, you know, very bright future ahead of him. We're going to have plenty of times and plenty of opportunities to talk about him performing in the PFL. And, you know, introduction of European belts and everything now, Andy, you know, he's going to be right in the mix and for all of that as well. It's a very exciting time, you know, to be coming up in Irish MMA. Lots of options, and PFL are kind of staking their claim in on the scene right now.
Yeah, like, I thought it was brilliant to see. I know PT Carlos has been calling for this for a while, but talk about European belts, and I couldn't agree more. Like it's when I look at, and it's still early days now, but look, we'll talk about Will Fleury and the other. We'll chat to Myles Price later on as well. But PFL seem to be almost learning from Bellator's, not mistakes, but their shortcomings. You know, Bellator has done great things in one sense on the Irish scene, and we've talked about it before. But PFL, by coming in here immediately, like now we know Nathan Kelly, he's had a great performance, and we know he's going to be fighting on the European Challenger Series next year, and we know he's going to have an opportunity to fight, you know, if he keeps winning for a belt. There's a path there, and we can understand what this fight means and how it relates to the next fight, and that's how you get people excited. So I'm quite excited to see how PFL continue to kind of insert themselves into the European market, and specifically for Irish MMA, of course, as we chat about on this podcast. So it's exciting times.
Sure it is, and I agree with you as well on what you're saying there. You know, all right, say this or that about European title, but it adds an extra little bit of meaning to the fighters and to people who are watching as well. It'll capture the imagination of the audience. Like when they see someone fighting for a belt, whether it be for European, whether it be for a world, quote unquote, or whatever. You know, it's good that it's there, and long may it last. Hopefully it stays PFL stay around for a long time, and we get to see a bunch of Irish talent come in through their doors as well. Another impressive performance as well, Caoilte, by Will Fleury, you know, making the move up to light heavyweight division. Very, you know, never really in bother for any of the fight, to be honest. Really was in control on the feet for rounds 1 and rounds 2, decided to take the fight down and did it, and dominated on the mat in rounds 3. A good overall performance by the raw bastard himself, wasn't it, Caoilte?
It sure was. We got to see kind of all sorts of kind of the ability he has. We got to see him grapple, we got to see him on the feet. In round 2, something stood out in particular, because I remember kind of sitting there and thinking he's kind of entered like the state of flow there or something, because he looked so into it and he wasn't getting hit and he was landing shots. I thought he was going to get the finish in round 2. The way he was going, it was just, he looked so fluid in there. It was incredible. His striking was fantastic. I think he's fighting a southpaw stance, I remember, actually, if I remember correctly.
He was switching stances early on as well, which is kind of a new wrinkle in his game, which shows his confidence and his ability on the feet as well. Like, you're seeing these little wrinkles come in every time he fights as well, which is great to see. And it proves also he's grown as a fighter. But he told us that himself on the last episode.
Yeah, like he looked fantastic throughout, and like you can see the development and kind of the level he's kind of come up from the last one as well, and how he's kind of come up developing as a fighter. But and the fact that he's still developing as a fighter, like, and making so many leaps this, I guess, late in his career, is just insane. He looked fantastic. To be honest, I hope that should secure a spot in the European tournaments for next year. So I'm very excited to see kind of him in there. I guess him in there again. I guess the only thing that was missing was a finish, but sure, look, that might come in next time.
Yeah, I mean, look at against Anthony Salamone was 7-0 going into this fight undefeated. Didn't look in any trouble at all, Andy. What Caoilte mentioned it, I was going to say it too, like the type of personality that Will is. He will be disappointed that he didn't get the finish, but he can't be too hard on himself as well. Making the move up to light heavyweight, those 15 minutes will be very important in his own assessment of where he is at right now, how his body manages moving up to the new weight, how his cardio is. All of those boxes were ticked off on that debut. And then on top of that, Andy, you go in and you get 3 30-25 scorecards. I mean, bar the finish, it was pretty much picture perfect for Will.
Yeah, I mean, like, as you said it there, like, Will is a very, very driven person, and I think I saw it was with Violent Money, I think, with the TV. He did a post-fight interview, and he was saying exactly that, kind of a little bit disappointed he didn't get the finish. And that's really, if you're looking for a critique, it is that he didn't get the finish. I thought that he looked, as Caoilte said, in that flow state. He was having fun in there. He was really in cruise control for the vast majority of the fight. Like, it was very, very clear that he was a level above Anthony Salamone. But look, you're going in here, you're in a new promotion, and it is a fight to get into the next season. So at the end of the day, it's job done. The only thing is, had he gotten that finish, say if you were to compare Nathan Kelly's performances, that's why we opened with his, because it was so emphatic, really announcing yourself. You're coming in as UAE Warriors champion, and when you are kind of clearly a level above your competitor, the commentary team were kind of calling for a bit more urgency and kind of throwing, and Will mentioned this in his post-fight interview also, about the single shots being thrown, but look, this is just, we're kind of picking holes at a really, really solid and flawless performance to an extent, but the difference, I suppose, between Nathan's performances, it was so emphatic he got the finish, versus Will's, where it was like, yeah, look, he looks really good, but there just wasn't that cherry on top, tie a bow on it with the finish. But look, again, we're kind of looking for critiques here. It was a very, very solid win overall.
Yeah, it's a very fair assessment overall, and he'll have the chance to get in there, get more settled at the weight as well. It's something that he was really trying to nail down with us when we spoke to him last week. Was giving himself the time to settle into that light heavyweight category, and that'll take some time to get used to as well. Obviously, moving around at a bigger weight and stuff like that will be kind of an adjustment to get a grip suit with him. But I think that we'll see a better version of him again going in there next fight.
The other thing is, you don't have to go full Dana White style, where you just rock'em sock'em robots, just blood and guts. Within the PFL, if you keep winning, no matter which way you win, you'll end up winning the title. So it
100%.
kind of works in that format. Did you see the kind of clip that Will did with PFL, where he was kind of describing himself? I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, it was really good, and they are starting to do that a little bit more. I know Myles will mention like something like that in our interview ahead as well, which we've already recorded. But making that little bit of extra effort to tell people's stories is what PFL are doing quite well right now, and they had done that with Will Fleury as well, and it was great to see. And what he said is exactly the way it is. I mean, all raw and honest. And I had to laugh at the lads on the desk, Randy and Kenny Florian and Shauna, they were busting to try and say what his real nickname was. They were joking about it all fight. They were dying to call him Will fucking Fleury, but they had a right good laugh at it. So look at Will has got in there. Look at both Nate's wins and both Will's wins were dominant in different kind of ways. Obviously, with Nate getting the finish is always what a fighter wants, but you know what? Will be happy, I think, in hindsight, getting a one-sided dominant win, and I'm looking forward to seeing him getting in there again.
I'd say as well.
Not a scratch on him. He'd be good to go again, I'd say, next week if he wanted to go. What we talk about next. Let's talk about Sean McCormac, who made his Cage Warriors debut on the same day as well at Cage Warriors 142. Came in and had a really good performance against Oran Williams, who was making his debut. Andy, I think you had mentioned it, I believe, on Twitter, with Sean had spent some time over in Thailand, and obviously you could see that transcribe into the fight. Very solid jab, very smooth on the feet. got himself involved in a few exchanges at the start of the fight, but when he started to implement his game plan and started to take control of the striking, it was pretty one-way traffic for Sean, wasn't it?
Yeah, like there was a notable improvement in his striking, I think, from having seen him fight up in Belfast back in March or whenever it was, a cage conflict. He'd spent some time over in I think it was Phuket in Tiger Muay Thai with Paul Hughes, and it showed. Like I thought his clinch work was brilliant. He was always active. So in the in-between moments, like he was constantly throwing knees, elbows. I thought his leg kicks were great. He had a real varied attack in his striking, and I thought it looked great for rounds 1 and 2. Obviously, going into round 3, maybe we'll talk about that. The fight changed a little bit, but yeah, really, really impressed with his striking overall and the improvements he's been making.
Yeah, I mean, going into round 3, we had seen him at cage conflict perform well and kind of ran out a little bit of gas towards the end of that fight against Pedro Pliesa. He got himself into a bother at that time and ended up succumbing to a submission, which had almost happened in round 3 as well. And this fight, he wasn't in super danger, but he would not have wanted to be finishing up the fight in that position anyway. The Kimura was close for a couple of seconds, but he managed to escape it quite well and come away with the win. It's definitely something that, will have to be looked at, and I'm sure he's working very hard at it right now, is just getting that gas tank going and being able to compete the way he was able to compete in round 1 and round 2 going into round 3 for future fights.
I'll be honest with you, haven't had a chance to watch it. I think I might get a pass on this one for a change.
You've been hung out to dry.
Literally. And I said it last night as well, but look.
My bad.
Yeah, no. You might give me a pass on this one.
I can jump in if you want. Yeah.
Go on, please.
No, like what Ian is saying is right. Like there was in the third round, obviously, I think he looked like he was slowing down a bit. And then what I was impressed with, though, was his ability to find a way to win. So when, maybe his energy is waning a little bit, he was able to kind of transition and take it up against the cage, and he was in a precarious position at the end with the Kimura attempt. I was chatting to him earlier on, and he said that it was nowhere near close. He didn't have the angle. It did look like it was quite close on TV on the broadcast, but at the same time, I think there was a moment where Sean there was a bit of a smile in his face, and you can kind of tell, okay, he might, he should be able to hang on here till the end. And I thought he lost that round. I thought it was 29-28. But look, with a bit more experience, I'm sure we saw the improvements in his striking. I don't want to say it's a recurring theme of him gassing necessarily, but it's something probably an area to focus on moving forward, and that'll come with experience, I'm sure.
I'll tell you one thing that I took note from, I guess, both Sean and Nate winning, is how they cut their teeth on the regional scene before making this step up to, I guess, a major promotion. It shows, I guess, that there's no harm in competing in the regional shows and competing professionally in the regional shows and then making the step up. And hopefully we see more of it, because the regionals, we want to see the regional scene thrive, and it's a perfect pathway for people to get, fight in front of their own fans and then make a name, and off they hop to a bigger promotion. Shauna Bannon's another perfect example, 2-0 fighting at home and then off to a big promotion. I love to see it. I hope we see a lot more of it.
Yeah, preach. I couldn't agree with you more there. Hopefully we do get to see plenty more of it as well. Fighting on that regional scene as well, gives you a chance to create that base level of fandom as well, and gets the people wanting to root for you. We've seen a lot of people come up through the regional scene and transcribe over to the big promotions too, and hopefully we'll see a lot more as well. But onwards and upwards for Nate Kelly, for Will Fleury, and for Sean McCormac, all really impressive wins, and made it a really good, successful weekend for Irish MMA. Unfortunately, Dee Begley was supposed to set it all off for us on the Friday night at Combache Global. Her fight against Jessica Ortega fell through at the last minute. And there's no easy way to say it. It's a bit of a fucking shit show over here, guys, with this fight.
It's a fucking joke.
Yeah, I mean, originally the fight was contracted at £125. I think Dee was cutting that down to that £125 when she got word that her opponent would not make weight.
She was at £128 when she found out.
And then the fight was then changed to a catch weight of £130, which Ortega still missed when she weighed in at 132.6. Fight still went ahead. Credit to Begley for even taking that fight after everything as well. You have to give her all the credit in the world when she didn't need to. Fight was still going ahead right until the final hour, it seemed. I was getting ready to tune in and watch, and next thing, news broke that the fight was off. And the reasons behind it was due to Jessica Ortega's blood work. Apparently the commission had said that she was good to fight, but then came back and said she wasn't. There was mass confusion. The fight got pulled. And I think the plan is now for Dee to fight Ortega next Friday. They would be on confirmed reports. So that would be in 2 days' time. It'll be interesting to see.
Those are confirmed, but unconfirmed. But
confirmed, unconfirmed reports.
So if they happen, give us the credit, but if they don't happen, then we can't take responsibility.
Allegedly supposed to happen. Well, Andy, like you said, you piggybacked off it there. I mean, it was less than ideal. I mean, for Dee, you had what happened in her last fight. You know, she got there, she fought. We couldn't see it. We got the video off her. Gladly we didn't get to watch that. That kind of was not ideal for any of the fans. This time, you know, a flight got delayed early in the week. She arrived over late. She worked hard on her cut, found out midway through the cut that the fight was changed to a different weight, and then her opponent didn't make weight. She accepted the fight. Blood work, crazy things going on over there, and hard to kind of stay kind of focused in on what was going on and what is going to be going on if she is to fight again this Friday. It's just a mess all around, wasn't it? But it's hard to point the finger at who, but, you know, commissions, Combache, you would hope that they'd start getting those issues sorted out. And for Ortega to miss by that much is a disgrace in my eyes. I mean, it didn't look to me from the outside in. Now, maybe there was something going on. But missing weight by that much when you're weighing in at 32.6 when you're supposed to be fighting at a contracted weight at 125 is not good. It's not a good look.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That, like, I suppose from the weight perspective, I agree completely with what you're saying. Why bother having the catch weight at 130 if you know you're going to miss that as well? Like, that just seems fair enough. If there was a big issue with the weight cut, then for whatever reason,
how long? Like, how long are you going to wait? How long are you going to wait to tell someone that you're not going to wait? Because it's not as if you're close to 135. You're like 7 pounds over. And it's like, then Dee only finds out a couple of hours before. There was like, I don't know.
And I'm sure that that Combache probably were like, right, let's do a catch weight, so that, because if she came in that overweight for what flyweight, then the commission probably would have said, no, this isn't going ahead. So they probably just like, right, we'll do a catch weight, but then she misses anyway. This is where, as far as I'm concerned, Ireland are 4-0 on the weekend. Dee Begley gets the win. But yeah, like it's just been a bit of a false start, I suppose, with not through anything to do with Dee in Combache, but like she obviously got the win last time and no one really got to see it. So it looked like Combache had kind of got their shit together this time and were able to. It was still kind of hard to get details out about when she was fighting, where it would be on, etc. But like, I suppose you can't really blame them for this one. I'm the first to kind of jump down a promotion's neck, but it sounds like it was a commission. Look, hopefully they get the fight going maybe next weekend, and Dee can perform and people can watch. But fair play to her for handling it so professionally. And yeah, an absolute shit show.
She handled it with great dignity, and you know, I felt so bad when I was looking at her Instagram update about the fight. You know, to get so close to getting in there and fighting, because that's what it's all about. You know, you can talk about the money side of things and everything like that, but like, everybody just loves to fight and get in there and showcase what they've been working on, and it's unfortunate that didn't happen for Dee. Hope she got paid fully and more for everything that went on, and I hope that she gets the chance to go in there this Friday as well. Maybe we'll have some more developments in between the recording of this and when the show goes out, but hopefully we get to see Dee in there and competing fairly soon as well. But like Andy said, we'll have to consider the 4-0 full successful weekend for Irish MMA. Let's go, up the Irish. To continue on maybe the wave of bad news on Irish MMA, unfortunately news broke this week about James Gallagher and his unfortunate pullout of his Brett Johns fight in Dublin for undisclosed reasons. Look at it, another tough run of luck for Jimmy, and it's a bad blow to the card as well, Caoilte, isn't it?
Massive. Look, whatever's going on with him, I hope he's all right. First off, really, like, look, person's priority in this case, regardless of whatever it is. I hope they're all right. But yeah, the card's taking a bit of a hit now, and look, it's not as if it's detrimental to the card or anything. It's obviously a massive fight. But look, we've got plenty of other Irish fighters in the card. I think Kieran Clarkson promoted to the main card now, as I think he should have been on it in the first place. But the card's still fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope Jimmy gets well soon, or whatever, everything that gets sorted soon.
Yeah, me too. All the best to Jimmy. But like, just to kind of bring you in on this, Andy, look at disappointing news as well. Like I said, look, it's a hit to the card, not a detrimental hit. Plenty of other talent on show there as well. But, it's great to see Jimmy coming over there and putting on the show. And, whether people, whatever people think about him or whatever people think about him, whether it be good or bad, he always brings the show, he always brings the hype, and he always goes in there and performs. And, unfortunately, he won't get the chance to do that next month, but hopefully everything gets figured out, everything gets sorted. He gets back in and gets prepared, and hopefully he'll be on the card. You'd imagine Bellator will be back again next February as well, but disappointing all the same, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, James has been such a crucial component of Bellator's, run in Ireland. It's been the Jimmy show for the most part. I know he hasn't. I think he's actually maybe only headlined 2 of the cards. If I'd need to go and look that up. But he's been so crucial to it, and it's a real pity, especially now that he's training over stateside. Like, it was really nice to kind of. The fact that he was coming back, he's training over there, but then he's coming back and putting on these great shows. Like last one he was fighting against Patchy Mix, and it's just it's James just has had a really bad run of luck, it seems, with injuries and everything else going on. It's just there's been a lot of fights he's had to pull out of now because of injury. Obviously, we don't know what the story is with this one. It's undisclosed, but it's just unfortunate because, especially kind of coming off that mixed loss, you kind of want to see how he rebounds. But look, I'm sure he'll be back, and I can't wait to see the Jimmy show roll into town once again.
As can I, and we wish him all the best here from the Auld Triangle as well. News that's not old news, but it's news from a way back now. We have not had the chance to talk about it yet, and that was Shauna Bannon's big signing for Invicta FC. Great news for her. Great news for the scene.
It's the one you've been sitting on for months.
I was sitting on that for fucking ages. There was a serious amount of sweat lost waiting to get that news out. Lots of messages going over and back between us and Invicta and us and Shauna as well. But glad to finally get the news out. Shauna was buzzing to get the news out as well. She has a bout agreement signed. No news as of yet as to who. Obviously she's going to be fighting on that September card, on Invicta's next card over in Kansas City, I believe that is as well. But really exciting for the scene, Caoilte. Really exciting for Shauna. It's great to see her fighting in such a promotion like Invicta.
Yeah, it's deadly. It's great to see Invicta back. We've had, I think, one Irish fighter in Invicta before, in Catherine Costigan. So this will be the second Irish fighter signed, and hopefully we'll get the first Irish win in Invicta as well. I think she'll be a major asset for Invicta, because of the eyes that she'll bring from Ireland, everything, the style of fighting, how exciting she is. I think it's really exciting, as you were saying. And yeah, look, I'm eager to hear who the opponent's going to be now, because you never know how the matchmaking can go. But Invicta, there's no easy fights in Invicta. They sign a very good roster from the ground up, and they build fighters. There's a reason they have so many athletes in the UFC, which is why it's such a good route. They build fighters. You get tough fights in the very off, and if you're a champion there, you know you're the real deal, and you know you're going to the UFC soon after as well. Their record speaks for itself, really.
Big time. Like, there's been some serious competition that has come through Invicta's ranks as well, like the likes of Cyborg and other UFC champions, people that went on to be champions as well. Shauna looked to forge her path to the UFC. That's her goal. She said that time and time again. And Andy, Invicta is really the perfect fit for her to do that right now. When you look at someone like Shauna, you see the reaction to her to the news that broke. When you go I've not had the pleasure of going to see her fight live yet. Hopefully I will sometime down the line. But when you watching those cage conflict or those cage legacy shows, the real buzz in the place as well. It's just, she has that star quality, and it's just trying to nurture that and get the right level of competition and get the right fights to kind of progress herself in the cage now as well. And I just think that this signing is the perfect fit for her.
You said it perfectly there, the star quality. Shauna Bannon is a star in Ireland, and we talk a lot about Irish MMA. We talk a lot about specific fighters in Irish MMA, their paths, their progressions, the potential for them to sign to different promotions. But I haven't felt the kind of buzz or kind of consensus anticipation around Shauna in a long time. Like I wasn't there. I'm not going to pretend that I was there in any of the first waves of you know, the boom of early Irish MMA, but it feels like there's something special brewing here. And I think that the fact that she had so many offers from different promotions really speaks volumes to that point. And as you guys have kind of laid out already, Invicta seems like a great spot for her, especially because of their relationship with the UFC. Like, to me, Invicta is like almost like the Cage Warriors, for specifically for women, when it comes to, you know, they've developed so many stars who've gone on to become UFC champions, not just UFC fighters but champions also. And as Caoilte just said, it's great to see another Irish woman in the mix, with Catherine Coskin previously fighting, and Aisling Daly also fought, I believe, against Barra back in the day there too. So it's great to see another Irish woman there. Do you guys, just on the decision itself, do you think it was the right decision, or were you surprised? Did you think she was going to go Invicta, or would you have liked to see her go a different route?
I honestly thought Invicta is the best route for her. I think, you know, a well-established promotion that has some great history. Shannon Knapp at the helm there, you know, who cares about her fighters, who wants to build fighters. You've got a place that has solid divisions. You know, you want to be joining, in my opinion, a promotion where you see your path. You know what I mean? You know, something can be said maybe with the slew of signings that Bellator did do when they signed all the Irish talent, was that, you know, it was great. They were getting fights, but there was no path forged for any of the fighters. It was just like, let's put on these fights in Dublin and let's draw the crowd and let's see what happens. And look, paths were forged for some Irish fighters through Bellator, and others not so much as well. I think having just a clear path on what you want to do, where you're setting out yourself with some clear goals, with some good competition. I just think Invicta ticks off all the boxes as well. Plus, you've, like you said, and you've got that relationship with the UFC as well. Now, there was talk about Invicta being on Fight Pass, but I think Invicta left Fight Pass in February 2021, as far as I know.
Like Access TV or something like that.
Yeah, they went to Access, and now they're on YouTube as well. So
okay.
The last Invicta event was on YouTube for sure. I was able to watch it, and I know you could watch it back home on YouTube as well, which is good as well. That's a good thing, because it means there's no barriers in the way for anybody to watch your fights as well. Look, you just being with UFC Fight Pass, if someone knows something that I don't know and they are re-signed with UFC Fight Pass, that's also good as well.
I haven't seen any news, but I don't think it's a bad thing that they're not there. Like with other promotions, you know, it's definitely a great thing that they're on Fight Pass, because you have that UFC engine behind you, and then obviously the relationship where, you know, the guys in the UFC are going to see the fighters who are competing on Fight Pass. But, you know, there's such a strong bond or relationship between Invicta and UFC already. It's a depth of talent. It's a full pool of women fighters. So it's not gonna denigrate that relationship at all. I don't think, the fact that it's not on Fight Pass.
Plus, Caoilte, I don't know whether you agree with me or not. Plus, you know, if your goal is the UFC, and that's what Shauna's goal is, you know, you're getting the chance to travel over stateside. You're getting the chance, like, you're flying over, getting yourself ready on fight week. That can be a different experience. And I know she has experienced that IMMAF level as well. But, you know, I think, you know, place like Invicta will give her a good kind of foundation to kind of grow herself, get used to what it's like fighting stateside, because, you know, that's, you know, where she sees, and to be honest, that's where I see her foreseeable fight future being, is on stateside and competing on those kind of promotions as well. So it's great to see, isn't it, Caoilte?
Go on, Andy. What are you going to say?
No. You answer that first, and then I'll ask this question after.
Fair enough. Yeah, look, it's fantastic. Going to the US it's a massive deal for any fighter to get to go and fight there, because of, I guess, the pool of talent over there is so large that you can come up against some really high level athletes, and it's easier to get matched, especially in the women's divisions, which we've seen in Europe, very difficult to get matchups. So it's fantastic, and it's a chance to make your name and become a star in the US as well as in Europe. So that's probably a massive factor, and a really important factor if she wants to go to the UFC. And not only that, you're on about the path there as well. And I was saying earlier about how so many of them have gone to the UFC, but I was just took a look there at the strawweight division. Out of the 8 champions from Invicta in the strawweight division, only one of them hasn't gone to the UFC, and that was back in 2014. Since 2015, I think every single one of them have gone to the UFC after winning the Invicta belt. So you know the pathway's there. And I think that's massive and a big factor as well. And I imagine it was factor in signing it too.
Indeed, Andy.
What I was going to ask was, let's say, you know, all going to plan. Let's assume that Shauna Bannon is very successful in Invicta. How long do you see her there for?
I would like to see her fight probably 2 times this year and 4 times next year on Invicta cards, and then that would bring you up towards the end of 2023. If all that goes to plan for her, that's when you can start having some serious conversations about maybe heading to the UFC. It might not even take that much, you know what I mean? There's a lot of talent being signed up to the UFC now who don't need to be 9-0 or 10-0 like before. You know, we've seen people getting signed up, and you'll see fighters on cards that are 3-0 and 4-0, and you know, if Shauna goes out there and does some impressive work and gets some good wins, that opportunity may come sooner rather than later. But I think it's getting in there. It's fighting, you know, there's no doubt about it. She's going to be facing a step up in competition now when she's fighting with Invicta. It's getting fights under her belt and getting experience under her belt now, I think, is the most important thing.
I'll answer it as well. So I think if I forgot for a second, I was like,
like, who speaks now?
Look, all going well, as you were saying. Before the end of 2023, I could see her signing. I could see the UFC having a push next year towards signing a few Irish fighters and trying to get an Irish show on in 2024 maybe. So I think, I said it before, 5 Irish fighters going to sign to the UFC next year, and that Shauna Bannon could well be one of them if all goes well, as you're saying.
Yeah, I think I'd say 3 more fights, maybe 4 more, gets the belt and then goes. All going to plan, obviously.
100%. It'll be exciting to see that and what happens as well with Shauna. Also going to be exciting in Milan on October 20th, a fight that we have been asking for. I know you've been very vocal about it, Andy.
I think we've all talked about this one on here.
This is a fucking one, man. Charlie Ward versus Fabian Edwards, a fight that's been many, many years in the making, and a fight that makes complete sense in the current landscape of the middleweight division in Bellator right now. Fabian Edwards coming off an impressive win over Lyoto Machida. Charlie Ward on a win streak of his own and looking really good in the Bellator cage as well. I'll bring it to you first, Andy, you know, because you know, you've been talking and asking for this fight to happen for a long time. I remember you tweeting about this fight fucking maybe years back now at this stage.
I want this fight.
It's a great fight. Well, you get what you wish for, man. They're going to throw down October 20th in Milan.
I've always said the place that makes most sense to put this one is Milan as well. That's
yeah.
No, this is a fucking scrap. Charlie Ward, what, 8 wins in Bellator. I think he's 8-1 in the promotion. Fabian Edwards has been the kind of the prospect coming out of the amateur scene, and then, you know, he was a lot of excitement around him, and then he kind of dropped a few fights, and to be honest, he had a few boring fights as well. Like, he was this kind of killer and finisher early on, and then he kind of lost his way a little bit, but he obviously had that huge win over a legend in his last fight in Lyoto Machida. So this is going to be brilliant, and one of the big reasons why I think it's going to be brilliant is, one, I think Charlie Ward deserves this fight. Like, absolutely 100%. I think this will position the winner very, very nicely towards the top of that division and potentially in for a title shot. But also, this, like, Charlie Ward, he's not in boring fights. Charlie Ward is going to bring the dog out of Fabian Edwards. Like, this is going to be a dog fight. He's going to be in his face, throwing bombs from the opening bell. And, you know, the one criticism, I suppose, with Fabian Edwards has been maybe there was a tentative nature after coming off those losses. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think this is going to be a fucking war, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, geez, very well said, Andy. Like, I would agree with what you were saying as well. Fabian Edwards has been guilty of being a little bit gun shy in there before. Sometimes that's down to the fact that the opponent that you're facing as well, who's not willing to engage as well. Obviously, Fabian is a phenomenal striker. Charlie, decent boxer and striker in his own right as well. He is going to be in Fabian's face for sure, Caoilte, in this fight. But you have to kind of, the overarching point and the overarching kind of landscape of this fight really, Caoilte, is, you know, Charlie has been known recently to be taking fights down. This is going to be a one where he's going to be wanting to put Fabian on his back as well, I think. And it's a real good clash of styles.
Yeah, like it's a good clash of styles. Like, yeah, it's a good one because Charlie could come out anyway at all. Like, he's got the stand-up ability that it could be an absolute barn burner there, but it also could be a case where he just uses that grappling that we've seen, and it is. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good his grappling is. It's absolutely sensation. You could tell he's been doing some serious work here in Davin anyway, because the last fight he looked phenomenal. He could easily just take him down and make this fight absolute hell for Fabian Edwards. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
The way I would look at it, and the reason I would say it's probably a clash of styles, or maybe will turn into a clash of styles, is that, you know, you would probably have to give the speed advantage in the striking to Fabian. You think you're probably going to be a little bit quicker, a little bit more dynamic on the feet as well. Although Charlie does have the power that can knock anybody out if he catches you. I just think that, you know, the speed of Fabian's footwork and the speed of his shots might cause Charlie some problem on the feet. And that's why I feel, you know, having that takedown in your back pocket is going to be very crucial if Charlie is to win this fight.
Yeah, because those kicks, you know, Fabian has his big long legs. He loves those kicks. I think we've seen it before he loves to throw a head kick, and they're lethal as well. But he might be a little bit shy to throw it because he might be afraid of that takedown coming in, and all of a sudden the fight just is turning his head and he's getting the head beaten off or something. You know, there's multiple ways to go. So yeah, no, I see what you mean completely. But hopefully they end up going towards a title fight afterwards. And credit to Donna Corby, he broke the news. I saw it there afterwards. So big fight to be breaking as well.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is that, just on your point about the speed there, Ian, while I think that like Fabian Edwards is the more athletic guy and, you know, overall quicker, I think if Charlie Ward is right in his face, like he's got some quick hands. So if he can put the pressure on and kind of stifle Fabian Edwards' movement and his footwork, and you know, kind of back him against the cage where he doesn't have that room to get out of there, he could cause some serious problems.
100%. Like, what you're going to be doing if you're Charlie in this fight is you're going to want to be closing the distance, because you're not going to want to be stand away from him and let him get off that kick game, or let him establish that kicking game that he has. Either that, or when he does throw kicks, like you said, just pick the kick, grab the kick, threaten that takedown, and that'll take it away. But how you can really nullify it is what you said, standing right in front of him, getting into boxing range. That's where he'll probably be the most successful on the feet. But ultimately, when it boils down to it, if things aren't going his way, having that takedown in his back pocket is going to be very important. And I think he should use it. It'll be interesting to it. Even talking about it now, it's the first time we've talked about it.
I'm getting like a sense of like a Sinead Kavanagh Cyborg type fight, you know, where they're just kind of one pressing the other against the fence and just cooking.
Yeah, it's going to be a scrap. It's going to be a scrap, and it always is when Charlie is in there. So it'll be I'm looking forward to that one, October 20th at Bellator Milan. A stylish fight for a stylish place, for a stylish event over in Milan. Carl McNally is moving over to the KSW ranks to face Milios Meerschart on September 20th. Andy, I know you will be speaking to Carl for SevereMMA. You're coming on. You haven't had the chance.
Should be out, I think, around now. By the time this is out, ish. Hopefully.
How do you think of his chances? Good move for him over in KSW.
It's great. I was surprised by it. I was surprised by the news when I heard an Irish fighter was getting signed and it was Carl McNally. It took me by surprise, but I think it's a great move. Like Carl, it's just a great. What I like to see is Irish fighters in different promotions. I like to see. I think it's in order to stand out. It can, like, say with and I feel like we often go to Bellator just because it's an easy one to go to, but it's also kind of a good example here where if you have, say, 10 or 12 fighters on a single card, and, you know, sometimes it's the case with Cage Warriors too, it's hard to stand out, whereas Carl McNally has kind of been a guy that's been standing out in his own way since his early amateur days, whether it's what he was an Imanari roll into an armbar or something like that, and then he had the kind of or
the helicopter guillotine,
just fucking wild shit.
Just he's just naming moves after himself, just creating them in there. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think he'll probably be thrown in the deep end here, but it's interesting. I don't know what to think of it just yet, as far as whether it'll be the right move, but I'm excited to see it.
Well, what you know you're going to be getting at KHW is, like you said, is good solid matchups against good solid competition on a big platform as well. So it'll be great to see Carl McNally in there doing his thing. September 20th, that's happening. Also in September, Caoilte, you broke the news just a couple of days back. Nadine Abbott-Bissett has a new opponent for her Combatche Global's debut.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the original opponent, Anna Summers, had to pull out a while back. I think she picked up an injury there in July. So a new opponent's been found, same date, everything September 9th. Nadine's going to fight Marina Sanchez is her name. A Spanish fighter, so she thinks she's 0-1 as a pro. She fought Jade Durand in, I think, in her debut, and I lost a decision. So yeah, I was chatting to Nadine about it. She's, makes no difference to her, as she might think she sees it as I guess
cold-blooded killer.
There you go. Like, it's different opponent, same result, basically. That's so. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
We'll definitely talk about that fight a little bit more closer to the time as well. Also, Pa Lehan has some new competition as well. He was supposed to be fighting a little bit sooner. Unfortunately, his original opponent had pulled out as well. Not sure if that was reported who he's supposed to be fighting. I don't know if I should be saying or not, but maybe for safety reasons.
Fuck it, say it.
All right, he was supposed to fight Martin Bravo. And he was supposed to fight Martin Bravo, and I think Martin Bravo was forced to pull out, and then Pa got injured himself, so he had to take a couple of weeks off as well. But he's back, he's training, he's back to full health, and he's matched up against Levi Maraquin for a Combatche Global catchweight bout at 150 on September 16th. Interesting, this is at catchweight. I guess with maybe the change of the opponent and how quickly it's coming around, saves himself the extra 5 pounds cutting down to featherweight. Has been jumping to between lightweight and featherweight. I know right now Pa is ranked number 3 in the lightweight rankings, number 10 in the featherweight rankings. A win at 150 kind of bolsters may bolster his rankings for both of those divisions. But it's a step up in competition for him as well against Levi Maraquin. And, Martin Bravo would have been a step up in competition for him as well. But it's good to see Pa back in there, always in exciting fights as well. And we will break down that fight in more detail as we are getting a little bit closer to it. Someone who's fighting this weekend is Myles Price, is going in there to take on Marcin Held for his 3rd PFL fight. He kindly took the time to speak with us ahead of that fight and about in and around that fight, information around it. And he took the time to speak about a bunch of other stuff as well. So we're going to head on over to that interview right now. That took me a while to get out. We're going to head right over to that interview with Myles right now. And now we'd like to welcome to the Auld Triangle for the very first time, Myles Price, ahead of his PFL fight with Marcin Held coming up this weekend. Myles, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. How are things? How are you keeping?
Oh, great. Thanks very much for having us on the show as always, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, everything's going really great. Yeah, I'm just kind of the calm before the storm at the moment, just centering myself and really excited about next week.
Yeah, I mean, for you so far, Myles, you went for nearly 3 years without fighting at all, and now you're fighting for the 3rd time in quick succession. Like, how has that been for you? And, like, how has your experience been so far in PFL, fighting, like, pretty experienced competition as well? Has it kind of taken some time to adjust into not competing at all, into fighting in quick succession?
I've really enjoyed the process, to be honest with you. I feel like that I'm at that stage of my career where I have to take every opportunity that comes my way, and I have to kind of be consistent as well. I think for the first time in my whole career, even though I'm coming off back-to-back losses, I actually feel like I'm peaking, and I feel like I'm actually performing at my best at the moment, and I'm actually like training optimally at the moment, like taking everything into consideration. I used to have a fierce mindset of go hard or go home. So I have a nice balance between training hard, training smart, and really living the lifestyle with competing this much nowadays. So I'd like to come out with a 2-2 record with PFL and really make a statement for next year's season, come home with that dollar.
Yeah. Dollar bills, y'all. Yeah,
But
look,
I do hope that my good friend Stevie Ray comes home with $1 million for this season, because he's an absolute stand-up guy and he deserves it. But the two lads in the fight, your man OIM is actually a really nice guy as well. So yeah, but I'm rooting for Stevie.
Nice, yeah. We're all rooting for Stevie now to bring home the big one. That would be good. Myles, talk to us about your last fight with Jeremy Stephens. Obviously, you didn't get the result, but it was a great performance. I would have to say probably up there with one of your career best performances as well. And I feel that you were unlucky not to get the decision, get the nod on the night. Thinking back on it now, how do you feel about that fight and the result and everything around it?
Thanks very much for the kind words. I do feel like that. For me, it's kind of a funny thing, you know. I put this in a post after my fight, and I said, sometimes when you win, you lose, and sometimes when you lose, you win. And I think that's a real feel, you know. Like after the fight, even though I really do appreciate everybody's kind words in regards to, like, and a lot of people have said it, like, an outside, like, people that don't really know me or anything like that at all, thought I won the fight, you know, and that's great. But, you know, what meant more to me was to be in there to prove that I deserved that I'm in here and I perform with the best guys in the world, like, and I can perform with this level of competition, and I can hang with these guys. It's that simple. I needed to have that type of performance, like, you know, that performance where you know that there's like a serious or upward trajectory at the moment, you know, and yeah, I think it would have been a different night for me as well if I'd have brought that same energy in against Pettis. You know, I was on here with you before about it, and I just feel like my nervous system and the anxiety and just didn't really switch it on the night, because at the time off I felt it really affected me. So the last fight, I felt like I was, of course it stung, like, you know, my mindset is obviously to go in there and win. You have to have that mindset in anything you want to do, like, you know, that W is most important to me. But because I gave it all and I feel like I just left it all in there, you know, it didn't sting that much afterwards, to be honest with you. I just wanted to get back on the horse as quick as I could in the training rooms. I was really grateful for the experience and the performance, and I'm just ready to bring it to another level again, but this time with the performance, bring the W back with it, you know. I do feel that I won the fight against Stephens, but it was a close fight, you know, like anything to do with close fights, you know, it's going to be a hit and miss kind of thing, like, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it's a fair assessment from yourself as well. Like, looking at you, and I've obviously seen all your fights nearly at this stage, you look like that you were really enjoying yourself in there during it. You know, you talked about before the Pettis fight, and sometimes it's hard to kind of get a grip of how you're going to feel when you're in there. And it was obvious that the nerves were there for the Pettis fight, but they were not there for the Stephens fight. You looked like you're having fun in there. And, you know, you were on with me before talking about when you had your time off, about retiring, this and that, wondering if you wanted to go back. It seems like this run with PFL has kind of re-sparked your passion and your love for competing in MMA. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I didn't think I thought I was going to go down a different route, but a route that I'm still going down with the psychology and my studies and stuff. But when I kind of said, look, I can't go into another chapter of my life without feeling like I've completed the other chapter, even if it's not a happy ending, you know. You gotta take risk and face yourself, like, you know, because you carry that stuff into your future aspirations, you know. So I had to give it a shot, and it has sparked a serious fire in me again. You know, I feel like that the last fight, I couldn't have put it better, to be honest with you. I just felt like I was having tons of fun. I was just really enjoying to be in there. I was like talking to him, I was laughing, I was, you know, touching him up in between rounds, like slapping in his belly and, you know, and stuff like that. And I just felt like I was just having a great time. You know, it wasn't orchestrated or anything, it wasn't forced. It was just very natural for me, you know. I just felt like I belonged to be in there, and I was in my element, you know. And look, I'm fighting top level guys, like, at the end of the day, and everybody's good at this level and this stage. Well, you know, they're the type of fights I want. I want to have fights that really challenge me. I don't want to have fights that look nice or Like I could be fighting like a lad who's 10-0, but like he hasn't really fought anybody great. Like, you know, I'm fighting guys who fought like the best in the world. Like, you know, they've been on the best promotions, they've had amazing performances. So to be in there and to really authentically be in a place where I feel like everything's aligning for me in that moment, but also I'm just so grateful to be part of a big promotion and fighting these guys, you know, just keep bringing on the big names because I love it. Like, you know, I really do, like, and it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, indeed. Like, and I maybe I'll ask you one more. The lads might want to jump in for a question or two after this as well. You know, seeing that you're fighting
sure.
on the you're fighting on the big promotions, Myles. You know, you've had experience on the Bellator stage. Now you're kind of getting settled into PFL. Like, what are the comparisons between the two? Before, look, obviously your experience with Bellator wasn't what you wanted it to be, but you know, it seems that this whole experience with PFL is just way better fit for you right now at this stage of your career.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love PFL. I couldn't ask for, and even though I'm probably the most underpaid of all the lads in the tournament, you know, I am though. But I'm still making good dollar in the sense that it's enough for me. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not really in it for the money, but I'm not going to be underpaid like by any means. Like, you know, but. I want to earn my paychecks. I'm just grateful to be here, living the martial arts lifestyle, leading by example, setting as best an example as I can to the next generation of athletes. And you know, and I think that makes an impact where I'm from in Kilkenny as well, with the younger generation and the members that come into the gym. And you know, that's I feel like my mindset for a martial arts lifestyle. You know, I do it every day, regardless. And I do it to set the example for future generations, you know, and it gives me a lot of contentment in my life, martial arts. So I feel like being part of a promotion like this, I just feel like, you know, it's a win-win for me. Like, I love it, you know, and I'm going to go in here and make a statement and earn those better paychecks for next year. Like, you know, I think that's so I'm just going to earn that, like, you know, and in comparison to Bellator, I honestly don't think Bellator is a bad promotion. I just think I fought the wrong guy. Like, it was kind of it was a win, but then like a kind of a drastic couple of like losing scenarios. It didn't really matter if I won or not. I think that they have an agenda for Peter, and I was very bad for that agenda. So I think wrong guy, wrong place, wrong time probably had a lot to do with it. They definitely didn't treat me very well. But that's not to say that they're not a good promotion. They don't treat other fighters very well. I think it just depends on what their business strategy is for each athlete, you know.
Myles, when you started off competing, so you would have started back in 2008 on the regional scene, did you ever actually envision competing in these big promotions in the 3 Arena, going to America, and now in the UK with PFL? Did you think that would be part of your journey when you first began?
Oh, wow. No, not really, no. Ian will tell you. Sure, Ian was training me back in the day. We were training in sheds and backyards and fighting on shows last second. And jeez, all
There's no heat. There's no heat or anything in the gym.
Fucking freezing. Do you remember we had that little kind of like buckets you step your feet into, and there'd be disinfectant stuff there as well, but you'd only really be in there to warm up your feet. You'd be fucking.
And there was a big blue barrel. There was a big blue barrel in the middle of our gym, and that was where you used to have to go and get sick whenever you're doing your workouts as well. It was crazy.
Everyone used to huddle around the heater. But no, I don't think any of us envisioned going to be where we are today. So I think I could almost throw everybody in that bucket, because Irish MMA has really gone. Like, I think sometimes we forget that it wasn't so long ago that, you know, there wasn't anybody in the UFC or anybody on Bellators or PFLs. It wasn't that long ago, you know. It's come up very, very fast. So no, I didn't envision that. But when it came around, I embraced it, you know. I'm just grateful for every single moment of this journey now, to be honest with you, you know. I'm coming on to being a middle-aged man now, so I feel like, you know, as you get that little bit older, you're just very grateful for every opportunity that comes along your way, you know, and I am, you know, and I feel like that failure used to be like my biggest kryptonite. You know, I was petrified of it, and I think sometimes that contributed to even me taking longer layoffs than what I should. And I feel like that in this PFL format and this journey, it's really helped me face a lot of demons with myself as well. You know, and I'm really grateful to be able to be facing them on it. That's why, like, I'm just delighted to be able to fight over and over and over again and against these high level guys. You know. Because I'm facing failure every single time, like, you know, and I adapt very well to it, like, you know, and I'm going to prove, like, next week that, you know, failure is the secret ingredient to success. It really is, like, you know, it's how you deal with it is what's important, like, you know, and yeah, again, just really grateful to be here.
Myles, you talked about facing demons there. What are the demons that you're facing in PFL?
I wouldn't be facing any demons with PFL. Like I mean, like, as in, like, previous years, like, I might have had been a lot very self-critical. As you may know, like, I'm a big advocate of mental health. And that was because I faced my own demons. Like, everybody has their demons that they face, like, you know. So I feel like years ago I would have had, like, a big issue with dealing with failure. Whereas now I feel like I just embrace it a lot more. So it's more of a reassurance, actually, from losing my first fight and my second fight, that it's just something I just brush off and just get on with now. Like, so it's more of a reinforcement of my growth as a person and as an athlete.
Yeah, Myles, obviously, like, you know, you did lose the first two, but as you said there, you've shown that you're there and you can hang with the best of them there. Going into this fight again, you know, you faced Anthony Pettis into the Jeremy Stevenson and now Marcin Held, very, very experienced competitors. Are there any conversations in the background with PFL around your future? Like, is it a case of you have to win this fight to stick around for next season, or do you have any conversations around your future with PFL, with the management there?
No, well, I know PFL, you know, they're a business first and foremost at the end of the day. So I know that there's no favorites, but I really do get on with everybody at PFL. The president, the matchmakers, everybody that works there. So I feel like winning is most important, but if you're, like, a good company man and you're putting on really good performances against high level guys, then it's kind of a win-win, like, you know, but you do need to get the W, of course, like, you know, that's all I'm interested in this next fight, is finding a way to win when the cage door closes by any means possible. So, but my contract is a 3-year contract, which means that I have 2 more years with PFL with the seasons. So it doesn't really matter, no. But at the end of the day, you know, it's not uncommon for big organizations to just tear up contracts and just kind of push you into the background and kind of have a, well, what are you going to do about it attitude? So, you know, that that's always going to be there too. Like, you know, even though it says it on paper, they have me there for 3 years, doesn't mean they're going to do it, you know.
Do you think that now that they're signing more Irish fighters, that we could actually see PFL branch out a little bit and come to Ireland? And do you think you'd like to be at the top of that card or near the top of the card if that is to happen?
Oh man, I've been hounding them for ages about coming to Ireland ever since, like, my first day there. They're like, here's Myles on about the Tree Arena again. But I'd say they are going to go, like, 100%. And I do feel like I'm sorry.
I was just saying they have to go. They have to.
Oh, of course, they want some of that Bellator money. Like, of course they do. Like, you know, like, I mean, look, the Irish crowd, the Irish Tree Arena crowd is the best one you're going to get. Like, you know, they're amazing. They're great for every promotion. Even if you just did one, you marketed the bollocks out of it, and like the camera work from when Peter Caoilte comes out, like, you know what I mean, or James Gallagher, or any of these guys, like, you know, are popular around Ireland in regards to the MMA scene. Like, the whole place lights up, like, you know. So even just for marketing value and visual values for their promotion, I think it's great, like, you know. So I definitely think that's going to happen, and I for sure will be on the main card, for sure, definitely. Like, they're sticking me in with, like, top level guys for good reason, you know, like, and that's because they know I can handle that type of pressure, like, you know, and I showed that in my last performance. So yeah, definitely Ireland, Tree Arena, main card, and I'm going to be on it for sure. And I don't care what it takes to get on that card. I'll be on that card because I miss fighting in the Tree Arena. Like, honestly, like, I fucking dream about fighting on the BAMMA days and the Bellator days. I just fucking love those shows. So yeah, bring it on, like 100%.
Yeah, it seems to be quite exciting times at the moment for PFL and for Irish and UK fighters and European fighters in general with this expansion into Europe. For my money, I it's obviously early days still, but it seems to me that PFL are kind of learning from Bellator's mistakes in the sense that they're already talking about European titles. There's structure around how fighters can progress. Like, when you look at the difference between, obviously you've said that you enjoyed your time at Bellator, but what would you see as the key differences between PFL and Bellator as far as their approach to the European market?
Their fighter, now there is a few people coming out and being like, oh, fighter pay this, fighter pay that, but there's always going to, actually, if there's anybody who should be going about fighter pay, it's fucking me. I should be giving that shit. But I'm just like, fighters have egos. That's what they're going to deal with. Like, yeah, fighter pay in general should be better, but in the grand scale of things, PFL are pretty good. Like, they are good. Like, you know what I mean? They do pay. There's a reason why all these ex-UFC lads are going there. So, I mean, pay wise, they're doing well. Second thing they're doing very well is that, the way they treat fighters is actually great. And I'm talking about the stuff that you don't really see. Like, when you're there at the events, there at the venues, you have your concierge and they're just constantly telling you where to go, what to do. You message them, they bring stuff up to your room, they're ready for you. Everybody knows your name and is really friendly with you. And it's just little things like that, how you're treated as an athlete on a weekly basis when you get there to the event, on the lead up to the event, and them paying for all your expenses and stuff like that. Little things like that. I think it's far better run the Bellator in that sense. And I feel like as well the season format is like a big thing, because I think they really have something there. They really do. Like, they have something that is really exciting. Like, look at Stevie Ray. Like, he lost his first fight against Alex Martinez. Alex Martinez lost against OAM, and now Stevie Ray is in the final. It's exciting, isn't it? Like, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Like, it comes down to the points format, and I think that kind of it definitely does something for MMA, and I think it'll start catching on a lot and a lot more. But what I would like to see, though, I will say, I was talking to my friend about this the last day, is that, if you want to kind of like share the market and really kind of, make a stand in regards to fighter pay and all these things for down the line, I think that the other promotions need to start picking up on little things, like say, for instance, I don't really watch UFC fights anymore, because I do it all the time. Like, I train in the gym and all that. So I only watch like fights that I'm genuinely interested in, that I'd like to kind of take notes on. So I watch a lot of embeddeds, like UFC embeddeds, to see what their lifestyle is like, what the coaches are like, what the little details of their life and small little things that they do that I find quite interesting. I think the countdowns are very interesting as well. And I think that's where, UFC really nailed things down, like, because it's not just about the fight, it's the little things surrounding the event that really capture people's attention, because they get to know, they get to understand and know who the fighters are. It's like watching a couple of seasons of the Kardashians. You just don't want to look at the arguments, you want to see the build up to the arguments. Good old toxic telly.
Whatever you're into, Myles, on your spare time, man.
What should have been, all right. So, I love the Kardashians.
I'd be guilty of watching a few episodes or two.
I'd be more of a housewives
Desperate Housewives
myself.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. It's all right. I can see where you're going there.
A couple of more questions, Myles, before we let you off. Talk to me about Marcin Held. How do you see that fight going? How do you match up with them? Any threats that he poses to you? Any threats that you pose to him?
Straight off the mark, obviously, he's a good leg locker. I mean, everybody knows he's a good leg locker. So I am fortunate enough to have 3 amazing leg lockers that I work with all the time. So straight away, I was kind of like, okay, this is cool. Like, so I have Ryan Mangan. He's a brown belt in our gym. He's cleaning up the jiu-jitsu scene at the moment, and he's like all leg locks. I have Kieran Davern, who I train with on a weekly basis in SBG Tullamore. and he faced Marcin before, and he's an amazing leg locker himself. And obviously I have my teammate Paul Redmond, like, who's an amazing leg locker. So like, I roll with these guys all the time, and I've been doing a lot of positional sparring there, and but not so much that I guess that's kind of what happened to me as well, and it contributed to the anxiety of the Pettis fight. I kind of believed in his name. I kind of thought about too much about what he was going to do. I've covered all the bases in regards to the leg locks. Is that to say that he wouldn't be able to catch me? And of course he would. Like, that's what he's strong at. But I mean, the chances are pretty slim, in my opinion. And I feel like advantage-wise, I definitely have striking advantage. He's a bit clunky. Like, he's not a natural striker. But anybody that's done martial arts at all understands that, you know, it's not usually the pro that you spar with that's going to hurt you. It's usually the awkward novice that's come in for the first day and he's closing his eyes and he's throwing shots from fucking Castlecombe or up to Lisdowney there, you know. Like, so you have to be careful of those lads as well, you know, because he looks like he's not a great striker, but he could feel very different in there. And I respect everybody's strengths, but I will highlight their weaknesses. That's for sure in fights, you know. I feel like I'm quite good at adapting like that and getting the gist of what they're good at and really kind of chipping away at that 1% to highlight my strengths and to nail in on their weaknesses. And I feel like that striking wise, especially when he's on the back foot, he's just not on my level. Like, so I'd like to highlight that for sure.
Big time, yeah. Looking forward to seeing. I think it's a great matchup and a good assessment there from yourself as well. You know, you mentioned back in the day when Caoilte asked you 2008, you know, where you foresee yourself. Back then, I think a lot of people wouldn't have realized is you were basically running your own shows to fight on them. You know, we were there as well. Lots of guys back on the scene. You know, it was called extreme cage fighting when we were first fighting on those cards. You know.
Yeah.
Kilkenny is getting a mixed martial arts show again this weekend. It's coming back to O'Loughlin Gales. I know you put on shows there as well, and you have a couple of students that are going to be fighting on that card. How good is it to see MMA coming back to Kilkenny?
Oh, it's amazing. Like, yeah, it's really good. Well, I'm glad somebody's running the show because I don't have time to do it, like, you know, to be honest with you. So I'm just grateful they pick Kilkenny as a venue and so the lads can fight in their home show, like, you know. So big ups, big shout out to Premier Fighting Championships. And yeah, I'm just very proud, like, you know, of my students, of anybody that is brave enough to step in and challenge themselves on a daily basis in the gym. And I love my students. I love my community, you know. And that doesn't mean that they have to come in and do it all the time, even if they want to just do it as a hobby. Like, you know, like, everybody contributes to that martial arts community and everybody has a part to play in anybody that individually wants to go out and step onto the mats or step into the cage and compete. So I'm just super proud and super excited to see the guys go in and express their martial arts in a live situation.
Lads, who was the last person to headline a card in Kilkenny? That's one thing I'd like to know.
That's a good question. Jesus, lad, was that you, Massive? Was it?
It might have been me.
It was you. I think it was you. It was you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It was.
It was. Yeah.
What was Ian like back in the day?
He planned this question beforehand. Ian's like asking this.
To be fair, Ian's probably trying to avoid this question.
Yeah, don't ask that question.
Give us a scoop on Ian there, Myles.
Ian was a little firecracker back in the day fighting, for fuck's sake. If I have the DVD, do you have the DVD, Ian?
Man, I had a copy of it before.
Yeah,
that was crazy time.
The Lord, boy, it was like rocking, socking robots for 3 rounds. It was fucking unreal, match.
Yeah, oh my God.
You don't see that, lads. No, it's cracking, so it is. Brilliant.
Yeah, we need to see footage.
That was a fun night.
We'll have a special episode where we just air it.
Yeah, the rewatch.
Yeah.
But I know it was good. It was good. It was good fun back in the day, and I just thought it was great. A bit nostalgic seeing like mixed martial arts coming back, and a few lads from Team Rhino Kilkenny also competing on the card. Does that kind of conflict with your schedule coming up now, Myles, with your fight and everything?
No. I just tie it in. I don't see it as something that's stacked on top of what I have to do. I see it as I always see it as how do I merge it in with what I do? You know what I mean? So anytime I teach twice a week in the gym, Tuesdays and Thursdays are my low days anyway. The only thing I do really on those days are like hot cold therapy, long runs, drilling, mobility, flexibility. So I do my drilling in that class, you know, and I use teaching as a way to reinforce techniques that I'm learning as I go as well. And obviously the students get a lot out of that too. So, and I get energy from teaching them, and they get energy obviously from me guiding them, like, you know, so, but it can't feel like a burden, you know, that you have to find a way to reframe it and to figure out a way to be compassionate and thoughtful for your team without completely like exiting. Of course, you have to a little bit. Like you need to be selfish as an athlete, you know, but you know, there's a happy medium to be met, and I don't feel like it gets in the way at all of what I need to do. Like now, it is a fine art. Now it is a balance. Like it's like there were some camps in the past that I found like, you know, it kind of got in the way. But that's up to me, you know, that's my responsibility to find those happy mediums, you know. So no, I feel like it's more so contributed, I'd say.
Nice.
You're on about being selfish there, and I guess a lot of the time as a fighter you'd have to be. When you went to train in the likes of AKA and I think the other one was UFD, how did those come about? And I guess how did you have to change the lifestyle of coaching just to go over there as well?
Well, I have an amazing team. First off, like our kids coaches are amazing. Coach Dom and Coach John Paul. Obviously, I have my very close friend and right-hand man, Mick Brennan, who's there. He's like, you know, he's the guy that leads the place when I'm not around. Like, and then, you know, the guys do pads there as well. We have like two teens coaches. We have Ryan Mangan that teaches the jiu-jitsu the whole time, and then you have other guys that are just always ready to step in and help out, like, and you know, because they understand that I'm leading from the front. You know, I'm representing our gym. I'm setting the example, and they understand that, you know, and they want to be a part of helping that. And it comes round and roundabouts, that type of support, that type of unconditional support, where they just genuinely care, the coaches in the gym and the students and the team there, you know. So if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to take a necessary step out sometimes to put myself first in order to be that leader from the front, which is difficult for me to do. Like, it's actually quite hard for my character doesn't really like kind of stepping away from that, you know, because I want to be a part of it. But, you know, you have to do sometimes things against the grain of what you'd like to do in order to accomplish what you need to for the future, I suppose. Yeah.
Myles, just before we let you go, what do we got to do to start getting you better paid here? Whose feet do we need to grease?
Well, we'll just all start trolling people on Instagram. That seems to work. start trolling PFL. Scumbags, pay Myles more.
Hashtag pay Myles more. Get it going on Twitter, everybody.
Yeah. We need a good hashtag. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I started with a new nickname, so
yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because it used to be Magic, then it was Splinter, and now it's Thundercat. You're like PD.
Wait, what?
MMA. You're changing your nickname more than P Diddy changed his name.
I didn't hear about this Thundercat. When did this come about?
What's the story behind Thundercat and the new nickname?
Well, I was just talking to Mick about it, and I always thought that Magic wasn't really authentic to me. Just somebody else called me that after I did a flying rear naked choke and cage contender, and it just kind of caught. Everyone started calling me it then, like, you know, back in the day. And then Splinter was obviously just for like a period with the Peter Queally things. I was just playing into the mind games a little bit, like, you know, with the whole rat thing, like, you know. But I was just thinking there the last day, just for something fresh, like, you know what I mean, and something that's a little bit more authentic to me and who I am. I just thought Thundercat worked really well. Number one, obviously, I'm a Kilkenny cat. You know, I'm from Kilkenny. They're the Cats, and I'm a big supporter of the hurling, even though I'm not the greatest fan. I don't go to a lot of hurling matches or that. And Thundercats is my favorite TV show when I was a kid. So I was like, well, that's a win-win. It feels right. No one else has that nickname as well, so let's go with it.
You'll have to break out the spandex and all that stuff now.
I don't know about that now.
For the weigh-ins, you'll have to dress up as one of them.
The weird hair gig and the whole lot, yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking the time, Myles. Really appreciate it. You'll be this is coming out during the week next week. In just a couple of days, you're going in there against Marcin Held. Live on Channel 4, live on ESPN over in stateside here as well. Any shout outs or what can people expect if they're to tune in to see this fight, Myles?
That's a good call on her now for 1 sec. Better mention the old sponsors on there now.
You getting out the old Rolodex there, are you?
I'm going to get on my Instagram bio, so I'm going to have on that. I don't want to be forgetting anyone. I always do this where I have to shout out to someone and I'm like, oh, Jimmy from what's his face, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'd like to thank Hackett's Bar. They've really been a massive support for this camp. Billy Burns Bar on John Street, Scramble Ireland, the Combat Lab. A big shout out to those guys. Massive shout out as well to performance psychologist Richard Shannon. He's coming over to do my corner. He's obviously my sports psychologist, and then Roach Injury Clinic for keeping my body fresh throughout the whole camp. And obviously all the fam from Team Wayne Kilkenny, HQ, guys at UFD Gym, and you guys for taking the time to have me on your show again. It's
always a pleasure, Myles.
And I don't know what I'm going to do in regards to the whole thing about having fun when you're fighting is that you just go in and roll the dice. So if I see a finish, I'll take them out. Yeah.
100%. Nice one. Thanks so much, Myles, for taking the time. All the best this weekend coming. And we look forward to talking to you again down the line.
Cheers, Myles.
Thanks very much, guys. Gents, enjoy the rest of your weekend, okay?
Take it easy, Myles. Thanks. And it was great to hear from Myles there, who, as he said, will fight this weekend on PFL Live on Channel 4. Always a great conversation with Myles. Always gives us some good stuff. Just a real great interview anytime we have him on. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight, Caoilte, with Marcin. Myles spoke a little bit about it himself. Obviously, Marcin has some good leg lock attempts. Former UFC fighter. Coming off 2 losses in PFL, similar enough to Myles. One lost to Olivia Aubin-Mercier, who is fighting for the lightweight £1 million prize and the championship. And Nathan Schulte in last year was also a former winner of the competition, I think back in 2018 and 2019. Good fight for Myles here. How do you see the fight going down?
I think Myles said himself, is like if he sees the finish, he'll take it. So if it could go any way at all. I'd say, considering the people he's working with, he named a few of them, one being Paul Redmond, as we know, who's very, very good on the ground. He's been working with Kieran Davin as well. So I think he'd be more than prepared for anything on the ground, and we could actually see him shine. And what people might think is that Marcin Held is going to come out here, try and grapple and actually have the upper hand, but I don't think that's exactly going to be the case. I think Myles could actually have the upper hand in the grappling, just because Held is very good at leg locks doesn't mean he's better than Myles at grappling, full stop. So I think Myles actually has an advantage there, and I'd be interested to see how he's developed in the feed as well, and if he can actually have the advantage there as well. But if I'm going to have to pick one, I'd pick Myles winning. But I'm buzzing to see that fight. I think it'll be very, very good.
Yeah, as am I. It's going to be great to see Myles back in there, Andy. I think, if he is able to build off his performance with Jeremy Stephens, there's no reason to doubt him going in there and getting a win against Marcin Held, who, look, is tough competition too, but I feel, Myles is probably the better striker going in there from what we've seen so far. He getting that work in, like Caoilte mentioned, is going to give him confidence to open up on the feet as well, because, he's not really too threatened by the takedown of Marcin. But it's a fight you're looking forward to seeing. I know that. You expecting Myles to go in there and get the job done?
Yeah, definitely what I'm looking forward to. I don't really know how it's going to go, but I will say that I was very pleasantly surprised with Myles's striking, specifically in that fight with Stephens. To be honest, going into that fight, I thought that Stephens would have had the upper hand in the striking department.
Myles, a lot of people didn't realize that about Myles, that his first combat sport was striking, was kickboxing, was Muay Thai. and actually came into mixed martial arts as a primarily a striker and a good one at that. And it's strange in his fights, you know, I think in the Jeremy Stephens fights, he showcased that more so than anything else.
That Philly shell he was working
with. It was, and that's something that I had not even seen myself as well. So it was really good, and it'll be interesting to see. And coming in off,
it'd be a big scalp to take out Marcin Held as well. Like, this is a guy who's beaten Nasrat Hakparast, he's beaten Patricky Pitbull, like a lot of UFC fights.
Has some good names on the list as well, and there's no doubting that Myles will go in there and definitely give a good showing for himself. But when you're fighting elite level competition, it's a game of inches, as they say, but it'll be interesting to see how that fight goes as well. Caoilte, I'm just going to hand it over to you just to give us a quick rundown. We have the youth championships that are starting today. Team Ireland have a team heading over there. What's the lowdown? How can people watch? And give us a quick summary on that, please.
Yeah, so I guess IMMAF are holding the 2022 Youth World Championships this week. Ireland are actually sending out their biggest squad ever, be it at youth level and senior level. So they have 40 athletes going in total, a massive squad with, I've heard some really good things about, and I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm still learning about the youth scene a little bit at the moment. So it was nice to have a helping hand from a lot of the coaches on the team and kind of fill me in on some of these athletes. And I'm really, really excited for them now. There's some good, it looks like some serious talent, but it starts on the 17th of August, finishes on the 20th of August. So, but when this podcast comes out, the opening day will be either finished or in progress. Fights are happening over in Abu Dhabi. You can watch it on IMMAF TV. And there's first day is Youth C. So that's the category, that's the youngest category. Then we've got Youth B. And then the final 2 days, 19th and 20th, they're for the Youth A fighters. So get behind the Irish. Plenty of them heading out. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if there's plenty of medals coming back, quite a few gold, very talented team. And actually one thing probably I should really mention is the work that's been done in the background for this. So Danny McCormac was telling me about how many squad sessions they've been doing. And this is something I think that's important for the future of, I guess, the sport in Ireland, because they've been having these youth sessions, these squad sessions, and they've athletes coming in from all over the country. They're developing together as a team, and it's Team Ireland going over to these competitions then. So it's not like it may be an individual sport, but they're going over as a team. They're training as a team before national championships and after national championships. The setup and I think the dedication that's been given to the youth this year is just phenomenal. And I think we're going to start seeing it pay off. And once these start spilling into or graduating to the likes of the junior and senior ranks, you're just going to see a whole new level of kind of MMA in Ireland. So it's really exciting. The future is great. And I think we should all tune in, watch, support them. It'd be well worth it and be more than entertaining.
Nice. Yeah. I know you mentioned Danny McCormac, who has obviously been putting in a lot of work with the team. What are some of the other coaches that are heading over to join? There must be, I think 30 or 40 athletes that are heading over there to fight, aren't there? That's a serious team.
40 in total. So I think on my next match, it's down as Ireland and Northern Ireland. So you combine the two because it's an all-Irish team. You've got 40 in total. There's a hell of a lot of them going over. You've got Danny McCormac, Alan McCormac, and you have I think Kieran Davern's heading over as well. He is. There's loads. Lee Hammond's going over. I think Ger Harris is down as a coach as well. Colin Maher, geez, I could go on. There's good
lads like that giving it back as well. Great,
brilliant to see, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Having people come back who've actually been through the IMMAF scene, and even having the head coaches, Danny, come through as a senior, seeing what it's like from the team perspective, competitive side, and is now passing on that knowledge to all these youngsters that are, I guess, the next generation, the future of the sport in Ireland.
Mad seen some of the names like Nate the Great Kelly going out fighting.
Do you remember when he was 14? He was telling Dana White, "Give me your advance on my paycheck."
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's
probably
hilarious.
Younger than that even.
Probably actually.
Yeah, it's wild seeing as well. I'm looking here, UC 31 kg. I'm like, Jesus Christ, tiny. I
don't think I was 31 kg back when I was fucking 9 or 10 myself, and I'm far from that right now. You're heading over. Sorry. Sorry.
I was just going to highlight as well. Ben Harding is kind of one that stands out to me. He's one you've seen kind of on local shows. A young lad coming up and has been fighting a lot. So I think he'll probably be one to watch on here.
Yeah, I think
You
you're
know,
heading
they've all been
over.
competing like no tomorrow, lads. Like I was asking, do any of these have like some specific like accolades or like have they been winning? Because I know a few of them won stuff. Jesus Christ, can't keep up. Like some of these are competing every weekend in jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, you name it. Like these, the
And
backgrounds.
even that's the benefits of having the squad sessions as well, where they are able to go in and get some work with each other as well.
Exactly.
You're heading over to cover. Are you heading over to this one, Caoilte? Or
No, couldn't get work wouldn't give me the days off.
Yeah.
So I am going to be working from home. I'll be up every morning. I think, oh geez, I think it's going to be about 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to be waking up and I'm going to be watching all these youth fights. But look, it's well worth it. And look, it's deadly altogether. It's nice.
It's good to hear that they've got a solid structure though in place for the national team, because I feel like that's one of the important, probably one of the important steps in building that overall framework to give legitimacy to the sport in Ireland. Obviously, it's not a sport in Ireland. So, like when I think of IMMA and whatever, forget about IMMA, forget about the name, but the governing body that wants to represent MMA in the country, I want the primary focus to be to get it legitimized and to get it become a sport. But I feel like this probably plays a role in that, in by having a very professional setup similar to other sports in the country, to be able to then put forward as look at what we're doing for the sport, look at what we're doing for kids, for teenagers, etc., and the way that we're doing it.
Yeah, 100%, Andy. Like it's getting it right at you want to say quote unquote grassroots level. You start there, and it kind of, like Caoilte said, if that transcribes into the junior and the senior, and it already is as well. But it's great to see a good coaching team going over there and a solid squad of athletes heading over there. We'll provide good full review on that youth championship on the next Auld Triangle. And it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody gets along. Okay, guys, I'm going to rattle through a couple of fight announcements here, and then I'm going to open the floor to you guys to see if there's any fights that stand out. We have had, obviously, we talked about Carl McNally's fight at KSW. Leon Hill, who Andy broke that news, is fighting Similon Otley at Almighty FC on Saturday, August 20th. On August 24th, we have 3 people competing on Centurion FC. That's Stephen Costello, Marcin Zembala, Nikolai Grozdev. They're all competing on that card, which is on a Wednesday. So that's some midweek MMA action for everyone to look forward to on that Centurion card. Hopefully it's not as hard to watch that card as it was the last one, but we'll wait and see for that. Glenn McVeigh is back in action against Bilal Tipsayev at Flight Club Rush on the 27th of August. Ryan Curtis is back in action at MVP FC on the 27th of August also. And we'll talk a little bit about Premier FC just in a few minutes. Lads, out of those last bunch of fights that I just kind of talked about, is there anyone that's standing up, or if anyone has any input on any of those fights, fire ahead. Caoilte.
I think the one that has to stand out by a country mile is Glenn McVeigh versus Bilal Tipsayev. That's just going to be chaos. I think the build-up, like the fallout from the last time, the build-up this time, it's just chaos. Have you seen the two of them on Instagram to each other? It's just
they're absolutely beaking.
Well,
they're beaking at each other.
They squared off in the cage as well, wasn't it, after Glenn's last fight?
Love it.
It did, yeah. I love it. I can't wait for that. I think it's just like, they're still so young in their career, but Jesus, it's actually
that fight ended in a draw the last time. Yeah, it did. Yeah, I remember that as well. Very close fight, but yeah, there's only one way to settle it out, truly, though, lads, and that's get back in there and throw a few slaps again, and that's what they're going to do. So one way or another, we're going to find out who is going to come out on top there. But Glenn is all look, man. Glenn has been taking seriously difficult fights. He's not afraid of taking on a challenge. It'll be a tough fight again, but I think he has the capabilities of getting the win, and is always in exciting fights, and it's always someone I look forward to watching fighting as well. Anything else to add on any of those fights, lads? Look, we're going to talk about them in much more detail after they happen, obviously, but Andy, you maybe have a few words to say.
Just interested to see Nikolai Grozdev. This is a guy who's kind of been around that SBG scene for a long time. Like if you look, I was watching I went back when I saw it was on Netflix again. I watched the Notorious documentary that Graham and the lads produced, and he was there, like he's there in the Mac Mansion and all, like he's been around all those fighters for a long time, but he's not someone we've seen compete all that frequently. Very, very solid wrestling base, and he kind of got off to a good start with 3 finishes in his pro career, and then he had a bit of a layoff and came back in March, and lost a split decision. But I think his opponent had something like 25 or some mad number of fights, like, which is very, very experienced. So I don't know much about the guy he's facing next. I think he's about like 7-6 or something like this. But just kind of interested to see him back in there and see how he looks.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know he's on that Centurion card with Stephen Costello, who looked really great in his last fight, ultimately dominating his opponent on that last Centurion card. He'll be looking to get back into the win column to move to 2-1 in his next fight. And also Marcin Zambala on that card as well against Vasil Supervici. That's a great name. I think that, look, if we're talking about Marcin,
needs a win.
He needs a win here, big time, and this is a huge fight for him. So hopefully he can get the job done.
And Ryan Curtis as well, another guy who needs a win.
Yeah, Ryan Curtis is also in action as well. So we're going to have plenty to talk about the next time. And look at Ryan needs to get back into the win column too. I'm sure that he knows that more so than anybody else. But that kind of rounds us up for upcoming fights. We'll talk about those in a little bit more detail after they happened. Before we move over to the questions, we've got to talk about Premier FC, which is also on August 27th. I believe that it's listed down as August 20th on Tapology. It's actually on August 27th. I don't know who might be responsible for that.
That's changed just now, just saying. I don't know what you're on about. I'm looking at the event right now and like
there's a nice screenshot here just in case it changes.
But let's talk about the fight at the top of that, and that's Solomon Simon versus Mario Di Stefano. And you're probably not going to see as well matched as an amateur fight in the country right now. Great fights for a great county in a great venue in Kilkenny and O'Loughlin Gales. That one is one that we could be getting excited for, Andy. Obviously, Solomon Simon, great fighter in his own right. Di Stefano has been on a good win streak of his own. He's been looking good. And these two lads are set to clash in O'Loughlin Gales in Kilkenny, August 27th. Is there anything on the Premier FC card apart from that fight that you're kind of looking forward to?
Byron Murphy versus George Grozov, especially after Murphy's last fight. He only fought about 2 weeks ago or something like that. That's one that I'm looking at, yeah.
You caught me on the hop there. I thought you were going to go on longer.
Short and sweet.
Yeah. What about yourself, Caoilte?
Jesus. Just be so at the last
just say 3 words.
At the last Cage Legacy, I got to see Peter Newty fight, and it was great. I just loved it. Stand-up war himself and Ryan Higgins. He's back in action against a local Kilkenny man, which makes me have to highlight this one. Oh God, why did I pick this one? Is it Kirill Mamosin? Look, I may butcher that. I'm really, really sorry if that's the case, but I'm looking forward to that one. See a home crowd cheering him on.
Look,
yeah, to be honest,
we butcher names on this podcast, so you're completely forgiven. It's all good.
Yeah, this is one of those cards to me. Just being brutally honest, I don't know a lot of these fighters. No. It's kind of new talent, maybe, or one that I'm just not familiar with. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Because they're not from Dublin, Andy, is it?
I don't step outside the pale.
But he's coming at rural Ireland like the last podcast. He's giving out about Will's pictures of the dinners at the last podcast, and now MMA outside of Dublin doesn't exist apparently.
Does anything exist outside Dublin?
I don't know. Real Ireland. No offense.
I'll bring my fucking bulletproof vest down with me to Kilkenny. So
if you're not on your best behavior down there now, I'll send a few heavies their direction.
What's the local takeaway should we try if we get out of this card?
You want to go to Larkin's Chippers anyway. Have the nicest chips in the southeast. That's one good spot. Like, I'm a bit out of the loop when it comes to Kilkenny, but Larkin's is still on the go. You're going to be right close to like Billy Burns pub and Langton's pub and all that. Billy Burns,
like such a fucking Kilkenny pub.
Billy
Burns pub.
It's a great pub in there. But no, you won't run out of places to eat or drink in Kilkenny. So hopefully you have a good time down there, Andy. And I'm sure you won't go hungry.
Thank you very much. I'm only joking. I love Kilkenny and all lesser counties.
Yeah, yeah. But that's it. Premier FC. We'll take a look at that on the next episode, obviously, as well. But yeah, as I said in previous podcasts, and I'll say again, it's great to have MMA back in Kilkenny, and I'm looking forward to watching that card as well.
Really, you should be presenting the belt in this card, Ian.
I don't know why. I'm surprised.
The last person to headline.
If yeah, I don't know if Premier FC want to send over the private jet and bring me over. I can do something. I can make something happen. You know what I mean?
It might be cheaper than insurance to put on an event.
I'll just put it that way. It might be the last person there that headlined an event at Loughlin Gales, but they won't be putting up any fucking murals or statues with me attached to it at all. Anyway, but
it'd be like in the NBA to retire your number.
yeah. But it'll be a fun card nonetheless. Let's go to questions, lads, before we wrap it up. Only a few questions in here. If you have a question, you have a query, if you have a topic that you'd like us to talk about, get on, email us.
Or if you just want to talk shit to us.
Yeah, if you want to, if you
take any umbrage with what we say in here, come at us, bro.
All complaints over to Andy Stevenson and his email address, and he can deal with all complaints and all queries there. But no, honestly, if you have any questions, send them in. We have a couple this week. First one comes from Thomas Delaney, who asks, how do we see Charlie Ward versus Edwards going down? Charlie has been very wrestle heavy for rounds 2 and 3 of his last few fights. We kind of talked a little bit about that fight and how we expect it to go down. And like I said, look at having that grappling, having that wrestling in his back pocket, I think is going to be important against someone like Fabian Edwards. And I'm sure the guys can give me a thumbs up if they agree as well, or if they have anything else to add. Perfect, thumbs up all around. Caoilte doesn't agree with it, so we'll move on. Caoilte, I'll move it over to you, Caoilte. Sean Denny asks, who do you think will adapt to the busy PFL schedule better? Will it be Will Fleury or will it be Nathan Kelly?
Oh, Jesus.
Tough question, I think.
That is a tough question. I don't know. I think Nate Kelly's I think he's probably been the most active. So I'm going to have to say him because of recency bias of having more fights in recent times. But look, they're fighters. Fighters adjust. That's what it is. Like, you adjust in the situation, you adjust mid-fight, everything. So I don't think it's going to make much difference.
No, I think the both are kind of on the same path. Would you agree, Andy? Like, I mean, obviously injuries and different circumstances come into play as well. You're having to adjust your camps maybe a little bit and adjust your sparring if you're fighting in such close proximity. Those are things that you have to think about. But I mean, I don't think anyone's path is more clear than the others right now in the PFL.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I suppose if you look at it, the fact that Nate fought 5 times last year, you could say, okay, well, clearly he's been the more active fighter, and the fact that Fleury has had more injuries. But then when you look at Fleury's just his fight yesterday, and he was essentially barely got touched. So I'm sure he could go again next week or next month or whatever. So if he continues having performances like that, where he's cruising to victories and coming out relatively unscathed, the same way that Nate Kelly did in his fight, then I don't see why both of them can't fight fairly frequently.
Yeah, me too. And they'll want to be fighting as often as they can as well.
Getting that payday.
Getting that money. Shawnee Versace, group question. Who are the best active fighters in every weight class?
Shawnee.
Oh my God.
You're killing us.
It's going to be one of those one we come back with, I think.
Yeah, I think we should come back with
There's
this
so
one.
Many.
Yeah, because I didn't see this question actually, and
lightweight Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
I've been championing Norman Park over him lately. Shout, but I might have to retire that game.
Let's get back to you on that one, Shawnee. We could actually write that down as a topic, and we might cover it on the next podcast.
Welterweight Ian Gary. There's 2 for me. The lads have to sort the rest of them now.
What did you say there? Bantamweight Ian Gary?
I said welterweight Ian Gary.
All right. Yeah, there you go. That'll be all up to the rest of us. Yeah, it's a sticky question, that, because you ask it and you forget someone, or you're doing like,
we'll be hounded for listening in a few.
Recency bias as well can always play into an account as well, so it's hard to say. Luckily, we have like lots of lists and lots of fighters to pick from, so maybe that we'll revisit that question on our next episode.
Who do you think are the best? Actually, let's throw it back to you, Shawnee Versace. Send us in your list,
yeah,
and then we'll critique it.
100%. Dylan Took asks, why am I so feared?
Fuck's sake.
Come on and tell us, Dylan. Come on and tell us.
Yeah, he hasn't been fighting for a while. Hopefully there'll be news around on the horizon soon for Dylan, and we get to see him in there soon. But yeah,
it's because you're from D1, Dylan. It's because you're from D1.
Yeah. And if you want to come on and have a chat with us and tell us why, fire ahead. We'll have you on anytime, Dylan. So thanks for sending in the question. Cristiano MMA, ask Will Fleury how to say his name. Heard him discussing it on Twitter, and ask him how he secured the win. Well, I don't think you need to ask him how he secured the win. He secured the win by going in and kind of winning on the feet in rounds 1 and rounds 2, and winning in the grappling in rounds 3. So how he says his name, Will Fleury?
Will Fleury.
I didn't hear.
I think it was. I saw it was. I think PT spelled it wrong or something on Twitter, and then Will came back at him joking around.
Right. Yeah.
He spelled it even more wrong on purpose, and it was just a bit of crack.
I missed that.
Shout out to Christian. Christian's a great lad. He's always hyping up the Irish.
Yeah, no, he likes a lot of our stuff as well on the website and my stuff. So shout out for the question, and don't hesitate to send more in. That rounds us up for episode 15. Episode 15, lads. Crazy to think. We started at the start of the year. The podcast is growing and growing and growing, and here we are, episode 15. What's the feelings on that so far, Andy, before we finish it up?
I feel like we're just warming up. I feel like we're starting to break a sweat in the back, getting ready to go out. I'm shitting myself, and that's it. That's it. We're coming in after round 1 there now. The ice is on the chest. The ice is on the back of the neck. See, every 2 weeks kind of we really, if we went weekly, we'd be flying through them. I'm looking forward to getting to episode 100. That's when I want to.
Yeah. Look, it's slow and steady wins the race. So we wanted to, give ourselves the time, to kind of, when you're sitting down to record a podcast. No, you don't want to. And look, as each episode goes on, we'll get more comfortable recording with each other and talking to each other, sharing our opinions and getting more settled. So hopefully the product is what you would hope it is. Hopefully you enjoy listening this week and enjoy listening every week. And don't be afraid to share the podcast, to like the podcast, to rate the podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud. Share it out, tell a friend. If Irish MMA is what your passion is, that's our passion as well, and we want to share with everybody that's listening, and we appreciate the support. We appreciate the questions. Thanks to Myles for joining us this week. Always gives a great interview. Thanks for everyone in Irish MMA for giving us something to talk about each and every second week. Right now, hopefully we'll kind of maybe get it to a weekly status eventually down the line. But more thanks to Andy Stevenson and to Caoilte, to Barra as well for joining me and guiding me along and helping me along and doing their thing as well. And thanks to myself.
Thank you.
And thank you, and subscribe and like, and we'll catch you the next week. When are we back again? We'll be back early September.
We will be back when we're back.
Back when we're back.
Back on the 31st.
Okay, right. What I'm going to do now is we'll just edit that out because that was real messy, was it?
No, fuck it. Leave this in as well.
See you later, guys. Bye. Ciao. Give us a bit of a couple of fuckle there to see us out, Caoilte.
Agus Marcin Held, slán go fóill.